Hey everyone, it is your boy Steve Melora, your favorite mental health counselor who helps you face the things about yourself and the world that you're terrified of. And I don't like how my lighting is, so I'm going to turn this thing on. There we go. That might help a little bit. So, today we're going to be talking about facial expressions, nonviolent communication, and Peter Principle stuff, because of course we are. This is the first time I'm actually streaming on Kick. I was multi-streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and X, and I'm using Restream. But the current thing I have only lets me stream on 3 platforms at a time. Like, let me try this Kick thing out. And while I'm doing that, I just want to make sure that my stream on the other side is doing pretty well. Here we go. Yeah. Let's do. Yeah, looks like we're good on Twitch. And let's see. Let me also just take a quick look at how Kick is doing, actually, because this is the first time I might yeah. I don't know how Kick works. That's the real answer. I don't know how Kick works. I don't know how YouTube works. I don't know how any of this stuff works. But that's okay. We're here to learn. Let's see. Am I live? I'm signed in. Here we go. Oh, wait. Here we go. I can see myself now. And now I just need to go to the creator dashboard and make sure everything is good there. Hell yeah. All right. I am going to need to make my Shadow Diver counseling page look a little nicer later, but that's okay. All right. Real quick, we're just going to play around. That's all I want to do. First, I work with so many dudes who have no ability to actually engage in facial expression, change of their voice, change of their body, things like that. And one of the things I do is I make them watch this thing. It's just 30 emotions. This is actually an acting reel, but I make them watch it once. I make them then try to basically mirror her emotions. So I will, and this is a acting reel from 8 years ago, but yeah, let's just see what we got here. By the way, if you have trouble expressing your emotions, you might want to try mirroring them right now. Actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to try to mirror them, and I'm going to try not to laugh too hard. It does take a little bit of effort, but we're going to try our best, at least for the first minute or so. How happy I am. I can't do that hair thing. I can't laugh like her, but that's okay. All right, you get the idea. But no, this is a really good acting reel, and of course it is. All right, that's fine. But how do I actually share the link for this thing? While I'm doing that, that was just it. I just wanted to share that because it is really, really important to actually be able to express your emotional content. Who'd have thought, right? And it's like, I work with so many people who are just unable to, at least to start. And oh wait, here we go. Chat. Yeah. It's just so much difficulty in some of this stuff, especially when it's like, man, it's really hard to um, just express your emotional content. That's really it. If you find yourself very disconnected, as in still waters run deep, hey, I'm feeling some things, but I'm not actually able to let them out. Hey, my wife complains that she never actually understands what the hell I'm feeling, thinking, and it's like, well, I feel like I'm fine, but it's like, no, it's causing problems. Then maybe being able to practice this, practice the art of emotional expression can be helpful. As I said, this is something I share with my clients, and it does take a little bit of effort there. It is not necessarily easy to start with, especially if you've been told most of your life that feelings are weakness or feelings are icky, or I don't know, if you feel too much, you're out of control. That's a big one for a lot of my clients, actually. I'm afraid that if I feel something, I will be out of control. And that's just not actually true. So, but that's just an idea. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about, the other two things, we'll get into that. 1 second. See if I can bring this up. Here we go. Beautiful. The other thing I really wanted to bring up was about nonviolent communication. Now, nonviolent communication is this thing created by this psychologist named Rosenberg, I think, Rosenthal. I don't know. But it's a really simplified concept, and it really is just a format. What am I seeing, feeling, observing? Oh, excuse me. What's happening? What am I feeling? What do I need? How do I make this a request? So you make it about yourself first. You make an I statement. I feel, I think, I believe, I like, I dislike, because you're trying to make this as most about yourself as possible and the least blaming as possible. So, and then you explain why you feel that way. And then you explain your needs, and then you make it a request. So, for example, honey, old buddy, old pal, love of my life, apple of my eye, I feel kind of grossed out when you scratch your ass with my car keys. What I need from you is to not do that. And if you want, I can get you a back scratcher. Is that something you'd be willing to work with me on? I feel grossed out. It's about me. It's not necessarily anything wrong with this. It's nothing that's something that's wrong with you. It's just like, this is what I'm experiencing. And what I'd like is you not to do that. Get out of because 10,000 years ago last Thursday, I don't know, someone else did something gross to my car keys and I've never recovered from it. Hey, I just don't like you doing it. Hey, this is something I got to carry around a lot. I feel grossed out when you scratch your ass with my car keys because I really just don't like the idea of dead ass skin on my hands. Whatever. Please help me hook you up with a back scratcher that you can use just yourself. Now, I'm just using that as an example. It can be, honey, when you come in to the house after a bad day at work, I observe almost a rain cloud of blackness around your head. And what I feel in that moment is pretty anxious. What I need from you is to be able to either keep your emotions at work or hit the damn punching bag before you get in the house. Is this something you can work with me on? Hey, honey, I see that when you don't pick up after yourself, when you don't pick up, no, that's too much of an accusation. I feel distressed when I see clutter in the house because I come from a family where disorder meant unsafety, danger. What I need from you is to help me keep this house clean. Is this something you'd be willing to work with me on? And then you can negotiate. Now, some people screw up the I statements on this thing. Some people are like, well, I think, or I feel, or I believe you're a douchebag. And that's not how it's supposed to be run. That's not the actual way that you're supposed to do this. It is instead like, no, 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 we're making it about me, my needs, my emotional content, my whatever the hell. And that's basically it. I know it sounds pretty simple, but it does take a little bit of practice, especially if you're not used to this kind of thing. But I definitely left the link to this in the description. Now, there's a whole book about this. You can read it. You'll get the main point about halfway through. Then he goes on. It's a little bit long, a little bit of fluff at the end, but that's okay. It's still pretty good. Just called Nonviolent Communication. So that is something that can be very helpful for people. And in addition, one more thing. If you come from a family or background with the idea of making a request feels like a weakness, if there's something like, well, if I'm requesting something, that means I'm giving up my power to the other person. No, I really want you, like I grew up in that, or at least I grew up with a mindset in that as a belief. And it's like, no, you're not. It's not like exactly like you're giving up power. You might get disappointed if they say no, but the idea is like all it is information. It's like, I see this person is not willing to work with me or negotiate with me. Doesn't mean I've lost anything. I can still say no to them and I can still get my needs met by other people or in some other way. So be aware of that. Excuse me. Let's see. Let's see if I can. Oh, here we go. We're going to talk about the Peter Principle. Actually, you know what? We're going to talk about poor communication killing people first. And we have to go to Tropedia because the real life examples were removed from TV tropes. That's okay. So the reason that communication is so important, you ever watched a movie where the really, really stupid plot could be resolved in 3 minutes, maybe less than that, if all the characters actually talk to each other, or even just two of the characters talk to each other? That is literally most romantic comedies or most romance movies. Even the tragedies, actually. It's like, oh man, if two people actually just effing talked, then everything would be fine. The Notebook. There's a college humor skit about that. It was like if the Notebook existed while cell phones existed, like whatever the guy's character, he calls up his estranged girlfriend who's kept away by her mother. It was like, hey, I think your mom's actually destroying the letters I sent you. He's like, what letters? That's that's what I thought. I'm outside, get in the car. It's like movie ends. Crazy, right? But whatever. All right, let's go through some of this stuff. So, there's a false urban legend about Napoleon standing over a mass of prisoners. His men asked what to do, and Napoleon coughed, said something about the coughing, I guess, and all the prisoners were killed. Apparently, the words massacre tu, my damned cough, sounds a lot like massacre tu, kill them all, which is kind of dumb, but whatever. Massacre. I know I'm mispronouncing it. I don't speak French. Charge of Life Brigade, which that deserves its own stream. I'll complain about that later. The book, Airport International, had a chapter with an incident where the pilot called for takeoff power as you increase the power, putting the engines at that level. And his co-pilot interpreted it as an order to take off the power or turn off the power and crash the plane. Fortunately, these strangers met on the simulator. So it's like, okay, good. But that's kind of dumb. It's like, yeah, that's why certain industries have standardized vocabulary. They'd say something like stop power or kill power or something like that. But apparently these happened a lot. So 1996 Sharky Dodgery mid-air collision is attributed to the Kazakh pilot's poor English skills. It doesn't exactly say what he was misinterpreting, so I don't know. Uh, Mid-air collision in San Diego was caused in part by a critical misinterpreted word. Just one word. The co-pilot on an airliner reported that he thought they'd passed by a small plane already. However, a burst of static made it sound to the ground controller that they were passing the plane, leading the controller to assume they had the plane in sight and knew where it was relative to them. If he'd heard the word in the past tense, he might have realized they didn't know where the plane was, as his radar clearly showed it was still in front of them. So it's like, right, here's something that could be, that just sucks. But same thing with NATO armies. Don't ever say repeat. You only say repeat when you're trying to get artillery sent back down to you. World War I is actually really interesting. So much of the butchery on the first day of the Somme was due to this. Word of initial lodgements in the enemy front line with requests for urgent reinforcements prompted dispatch of said reinforcements, which is good military sense. If you're succeeding, reinforce the success. By the time the message got through, though, so you had to send like a messenger back or a messenger pigeon or something. By the time the message got through, the picture had changed and the reinforcements were massacred. The advancing barrage couldn't be called back to deal with unsuppressed machine guns, et cetera, et cetera. And that was the biggest problem. That was one of the biggest problems with trench warfare. It's like no one knew what was going on because no one actually had a clear idea of how to communicate with each other. There was so many runners, there was so much. And the field lines, like the actual telegraph lines, they're really, really hard to use back in the day. It wasn't like you were calling a cell phone that pinged to a tower. It was like, no, you had to run cable, hope the cable wasn't cut. And it's like, man, that stuff was nuts. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. What was that? There's a reason the U.S. Armed Forces. You will have your ass chewed for requesting that someone repeat their last transmission. The proper request is say again. Say again, say again, say again. Repeat is used as a pro word. It means to send another artillery or naval gunfire barrage to the previous coordinates. So it's like, you hit exactly where you're supposed to. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Yeah. Let's see. What else? Where else has poor communication killed people? Yeah, that's it for now. But we can get into a little bit more personalized things where it doesn't have to be work. It doesn't have to be anything. It could be like, no. Two, like I've worked with couples who literally can't communicate, who are working on such a different playbook and have such different needs, maybe even mutually exclusive needs from each other, that their ability to actually convey those needs are impossible, at least starting out. And it's like, what exactly is going on here? Sometimes it's, I don't know what I actually need. All I know is I'm pissed off that you're not giving it to me. Other times it's I'm actually just afraid of my partner, afraid of conflict, so I can't actually speak truth to power. I can't actually say something that's going to get me in trouble, things like that. Or it could be as simple as, how do I want to say this? I'm trying to say something, but the other person just isn't listening. Or maybe I'm not listening to the other person because they are so damn boring. And it's like, there can be a lot there. Be aware of your own communication style. If you have trouble actually speaking your needs, see me. But also just question what exactly around communication is screwing with you. Like I come from a family where, saying the wrong thing does get your ass chewed out or does lead to some blow up. And it's like, I didn't realize actually bringing up this small thing was going to lead to something being megaton. Maybe the other person just isn't safe. So I'll get rid of that. And real quick, we will talk about the Peter principle. And we're going to do some examples as well. The Peter Principle states that a person who is competent at their job will earn a promotion to a position that requires different skills. If the promoted person lacks the skills required for the new role, they will be incompetent at the new level and will not be promoted again. If the person is competent to the new role, they will be promoted again and again and will continue to be promoted until reaching a level at which they are incompetent. Being incompetent, the individual will not qualify for promotion again, and so will remain stuck at this final placement or Peter's plateau. So, in a hierarchy, every employee tends to rise to his level of incompetence. Or really, I mean, it's interesting that they put it this way because it is true, but it also works in a kind of a different way to their highest level, to their level of ability. Now, if you've ever worked in anything with a hierarchy, you will see this. You will see people who are like, I have no idea how you got here. I have no idea what exactly got you to this level. Let me actually look at some examples if we can. So this actually goes into some of the books. Let me actually bring this up. And this is going to be crapping on some people who probably did some level of good work, but whatever. Sales departments. Many companies insist on promoting their best salespeople to management, partially based on the theory that as a manager, they will teach everyone else their skills and make other employees now working under them better salespeople. This ignores the fact that nothing about being a good salesperson says that they will be good at teaching those skills to others, let alone everything else that goes into being a good manager. In the end, the skills necessary to make a good salesperson have very little in common with the skills necessary to make a good sales manager. I hear this all the time, and it is one of those things where it's like, I know people who are naturally extroverted, naturally salespeople. And it's like, Bob's Burgers had a good episode about this. It's like this one girl is selling like some Tupperware or something. I don't even remember. But it's like Linda's like comes to the end of it. It was like, oh, you're not even trying to be sleazy about it. This is just who you are as a person. You are naturally so, she doesn't say it like this, but you're naturally so extroverted that other people want to be like you, or you have this natural magnetism where it's like you could be selling sand in the desert and some people would at least be considering whether it's worth the purchase. And it's like, there's something about the personality traits. And there are so many salespeople who have those personality traits and have no idea how to communicate why they are. And it's like, why they are the way they are. It's like, of course I love talking to people. Of course I love maneuvering a conversation around, I don't know, selling Amway or whatever the hell. And it's like, yeah, try telling that to an introvert. Try telling that to someone who can only sell something that they actually believe in. And, there are so many sleazy car salesmen who don't mind the fact that they're selling a product with no value. The actual processes of it is what they're actually enjoying about it. And it's like, yeah, I can sell counseling. I can sell my wisdom. I can sell the exploration of the human soul. But I can't sell a goddamn printer. I don't know why an Epson is better than an HP. Maybe you should actually just look on Amazon. I can't do that for you. Good luck. Yeah. And you see this with it is incremental as well. That's another thing. It's not just, hey, I'm jumping straight to manager. I know plenty of tech bros who had this problem where it was like, I am a great technician. I'm a great computer scientist. I am great at jumping into the matrix and punching out viruses or whatever it is computer science people do. And it's like, great, you are so competent that you are going to be running a team. And that means you're still going to be coding, you're still going to be jumping into the matrix, but you'll have 3 people under you, 4 or 5, and all you're going to be doing is reviewing their code for some issues and making sure all the tech stuff goes well. Fair enough. And if you do good at that for a year, then you get promoted. Hey, now you have a team of 10, actually. And once you do that for a year, it's like, you know what? We're actually going to have 2 teams of 10. And now instead of actually reviewing their code, you're mostly dealing with people. hey, Jane and Janet are pissed off at each other because they're, keep fighting over the mugs in the coffee break room. Hey, these other two people are, this one's depressed. The other one keeps on calling in sick. And it's like, maybe you're supposed to be reviewing code, but maybe you're also just wrangling people. Maybe you have no social skills as well. Yeah, reviewing someone C++ back in the day was fine. But now it's like, oh, crap. I'm an introvert. I got into this job to not have to deal with people, and now I have to wrangle these people who are more complicated than a computer. And that has been a story for a lot of people. John Romero, same thing. High skill as a programmer and designer, did not translate into any skill whatsoever as a product manager and administrator. Let's see. Other people, screw entertainment, who cares? Let's see. What other good examples are there? It's hard to explore the military, though. There's so much more issues with competence and stuff like that. Yeah. Let's see what we got. All right. And the United States military is not immune from this trope. In Band of Brothers, Herbert Sobel is the first leader of Easy Company, excels in the position, training a company that is tougher and more effective in a training environment than any other airborne company. However, when actually out in the field, he suffers from the fact that he has poor leadership skills. All his subordinates basically hate him, and he's completely useless in combat. Fortunately for Easy, he is reassigned to head up a training camp for airborne, his actual strength, before the invasion of Normandy. He's later found still at captain rank, the same rank he was when he was reassigned, working as menial logistics position. Whew. Generation Kill. It's pointed out many of First Force Recon's officers were mostly logistical staff, as Recon was usually commanded in the field as an elite unit of the first and second lieutenants and skilled, experienced non-commissioned officers. The decision to deploy all of First Force Recon to the Iraq War resulted in offers highly skilled in administrative positions suddenly forced into combat positions in which they were not very competent. Evan writes, the offer makes a point to not name these officers by their real names, as he feels it is unfair to them. That actually does happen a little bit. Like, usually there's this entire idea of positions in the rear with the gear. And when I was in Iraq, it was like, yeah, we had a accounting staff that was in their own building on base, and they did paperwork and handled that crap. And it was like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, yeah, I do not want to give those guys, me included, yeah. We shouldn't really be making those guys fight. I'll just put it that way. Not that I did anything cool. I was not getting into knife fights with Osama bin Laden or anything cool like that when I was over there. I also stayed mostly on base, almost completely for the matter. It was only like once or twice when the Iraqis tried to kill me. Personally, I mean. All right. Let's see. What other good examples are there? Let's get into... I don't want to talk about politics. Oh, let's talk about Costa Concordia. Remember that stupid boat? That was dumb. All right. Costa Concordia disaster, which a 290-meter-long cruise ship struck in an underwater rock formation, capsized, and partially sank. Happened in part because the ship's captain, Francesco Schettino, was promoted to that position almost directly from a career path with Costa that had been otherwise almost entirely focused on security work. He had been a chief security officer before the horizontal promotion to captain, with only a little bit of experience as a navigational officer before then, which had left him with almost none of the skills or competence needed to adequately command a ship. Indeed, according to some reports, the Concordia was simply the last and most unfortunate of 3 cruise ships under his command to be damaged during a regular cruise, because he had little idea what he was doing, to say nothing of the several other poor decisions that made this trip a disaster waiting to happen. Chief among them, his choice among a crew of people who were expected to speak English or Italian to pick an untrained Indonesian helmsman who barely spoke either and misinterpreted steering orders on 2 key occasions, which actually caused the crash. Much of his conduct during the disaster also proved that he didn't have the character required to be a captain. He spent much of it in denial that anything had gone wrong, merely headed for a lifeboat as soon as the rest of the crew decided to tell people to abandon ship, for which he changed out of his uniform so no one would recognize him. Terrible, terrible. Actively tried to avoid doing anything more helpful once his superiors caught wind of what was going on, and then finally told the news that he was the last off the ship, which ultimately resulted in the rest of the bridge crew taking reduced sentences in return for testifying against Schettino to increase his sentence. Ultimately resulted in the rest of the crew taking reduced sentences, save for the aforementioned helmsman, who simply fled the country and hasn't been conclusively tracked down in a decade since, in return for testifying against Schettino to increase his sentence. It's like, yeah, Jesus. Oh, man. Terrible. Academia, opening a restaurant. Yeah, that's whatever. All right. Let me turn this thing off. So, you guys ever worked with someone who was incompetent, who grew out of some level of like, hey, I'm really, really competent at kicking down doors and getting into fist fights with people, but now they have to learn how to, use Microsoft Excel, or even the other way around. So, I guess the other thing about the Pareto principle, and I'm going to just briefly go into this. The idea is most people can learn most skills. G factor. The idea is like, okay, so for sales going to management, like those skills are completely opposite, or at least in a lot of ways they are. And it's like, where they have nothing to do with each other. It's like, can a salesman learn management skills? Yes. But it's sure of a hell lot easier to learn skills that are adjacent to the skills you already have. It's easier to learn French if you already know Italian. They're both Romance languages. It's easier to know biology if you know chemistry. It's like, oh, yeah, one can build off the other, and both of them use a shit ton of math, and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, interesting. And it's not just, there are some personality factors at play, but so many of people are thrust into positions of their own incompetence because they haven't had enough time to actually take an apprenticeship, usually of the person they're replacing. And they haven't had enough time to actually develop their personality and their trait openness to learn the skills necessary to do that job. And I think a lot of the promotions are kind of bullshit. It's like, maybe you shouldn't be managing a group of people. Maybe you should be doing more of your tech stuff and also having another manager manage the people side. Or to put it a different way, why aren't there two managers to a position? One for all the tech role stuff and one for all the dealing with humans stuff. Years ago, I did a small consultation with this one company. It was like, yeah, you have your HR person interacting with humans. And it's like, yeah, that's technically their job. They prefer the paperwork. They prefer the rule making. They prefer the being stuck in the windowless office and being alone. Maybe you should give that guy some accounting stuff and give all the actual human interaction stuff to Barbara, who definitely loves talking and having tea and actually resolving issues that are personal problems. It's like, maybe there needs to be a whole restructuring of what looks like based on personality traits and who would actually be a good fit for those roles, rather than just being like, you have enough seniority, you're fired, keep going. Anyway, I just wanted to share this because I had an extra hour because my 4 o'clock didn't show up. But that is okay. I get to spend it on Restream and all these platforms, sharing my wisdom to the 3 people who are listening. So, you guys take care of yourselves. Love you all.